Hey guys, my name is Anthony and in today's video I'm going to be doing another video in the 3 levels of series. If you guys don't know what it is, I highly suggest you go and check my last one out. The link will be at the top right hand side of the screen. And basically what I do is I take a subject within the Formula 1 game, F1 2020 or F1 2021 when that game comes out, and I look at the different levels from beginner to F1 Esports and basically just teach you guys exactly what you need to do in order to improve your own driving. So let's get straight into this one, which is going to be the 3 levels of braking. Okay, so for this video's beginner, we're going to be looking at Electron, and the reason why I specifically chose this footage is because he's doing a very beginner mistake here, and a lot of beginners tend to make this mistake and they don't even realize that it's a mistake. So the 2 main things that you will automatically do to make up lap time are your braking and throttle control. And the biggest mistakes that new drivers make is thinking that you either need to be fully on or fully off the brakes at all times in order to be quicker, and that is far from the truth. And as you can see from the footage that Electron's provided here, he's either fully on or fully off the brakes, and this actually disturbs the balance of the car. It causes understeer, which results in him having to brake earlier and carry less minimum speed throughout the corners, which is what loses him a ton of time in the corners, which is where you want to be making up most of the time in the lap. If you look at turn 3 for example, this is a big example of this. Electron goes 100% on the brakes and then comes off again, but then has to quickly stab on the brake again because he knows that the car is going to understeer mid corner. And looking at turn 11 as well, which is a very fast flowing section, if you brake too much here you're going to lose a lot of time, and you can see that he does the same thing. He quickly just jabs on the brake 100%, and that loses him so much time, potentially even like half a second by the time he actually gets to turn 13, which is the next heavy braking zone. So you guys may be wondering, if Electron isn't doing the correct thing, if that's not actually how you're supposed to brake, if that's losing me a lot of time, then what actually am I supposed to do in order to gain time under braking? Well, to find that out, we're going to be looking at today's advanced level footage, which is provided from Chili. If you guys don't know who Chili is, you've probably seen him a few times around on my videos. If not, just to give a bit of context, he's roughly about the same pace as me. I'd say that he's arguably a little bit quicker than me, a couple of tenths quicker than me at most tracks. So that's the sort of pace that we're going to be looking at today. I would say he's probably going towards the medium advanced. So, you know, he's your typical league racer. He's racing in, say, the top 2 tiers at most leagues, so he definitely knows what he's doing. And if you take a look at his Spa footage here, you'll see that he's using a braking technique called trail braking. Now if you guys don't know what trail braking is, I will leave a video in the description. Make sure to click that and watch that video because it will help you. It basically goes into how to trail brake, especially in simulation games like F1, Assetto Corsa, stuff like that. So as you can see from his technique, trail braking is basically where you start off using 100% brake force, and then as you slowly turn in towards the apex of a corner, you trail off of the brakes. So you're still using the brakes quite heavily, but the more you turn, the more you lift off of your brakes, and this actually allows you to carry more minimum speed into the corner. It allows you to brake later as well because you're still applying brake as you're going through the corner. So the car's still slowing down, but it's not slowing down as rapidly. It's not understeering because the nose of the car is still pointed down towards the ground. It's still creating a lot of downforce, and this is even more evident in actual true simulators like Assetto Corsa or like iRacing or something like that. With F1, maybe not so much, but the effects are still there and they're still prominent. If you lift off of the brakes completely, you will understeer the car, and that will lose you a lot of time, and that's why trail braking is so powerful. So yeah, if we take a detailed look into Chili's lap here, just taking a look quickly at turn 5, this is a great example because you're coming off of a long straight, you're carrying a lot of speed, and this is actually still quite a fast flowing section. I would say this is a medium speed corner, so you're still going to need to carry quite a bit of speed through this corner or else you'll be losing a lot of time. So you can see that he actually uses 100% of his brakes, and then he quickly just trails off the brakes as he's turning the car in. Obviously, depending on the corner, if it's a slow speed corner, then you'll have to probably trail slowly off the brakes. However, if it's a medium speed or even a fast speed corner, then you're probably going to need to trail off of the brakes quite quickly, which might look as if he's just completely lifting it off, but that's not actually the case. He's trailing, he's just doing it quite quickly. And then as he goes in towards the apex here, you can see that he's just trailing off. That allows him to carry a lot of speed in. It keeps the nose of the car pointed towards the ground, which means that he's not understeering into the corners, and he can really be a lot more aggressive going in, and that's where you gain the lap time. So another example of trail braking from Chile here is turn 8, which you guys may know as that long downhill right hand corner before no name, that as soon as you take ABS off, you just start locking up out of that corner. And that is because it's downhill, and if you apply too much braking force, then you will lock up going downhill because the tires are overloading a lot easier than they would in a level braking zone or even going uphill. And as you can see here, Chile starts off by going 90th% on the brakes, which personally I don't like. I would still use 100% on the brakes at first. It could brake just that slight bit later and gain just that extra, tenth, or even, even if it's not a tenth, even those couple of hundredths, because they can make the difference in qualifying. Still use 100%, brake that slight bit later, and then he still trails quite nicely off of the brakes, and this allows him to keep the nose of the car pointed, which means he's not understeering through that corner, which is very easy to do, and also he's able to carry a lot more minimum speed through that corner as well, which is why he gains so much time over someone who's on the brakes 100% and then lifts off to using 0% of the brakes. And finally, we're going to be looking at the F1 Esports footage, and before I get into this, I just want to mention, I did mention this in the previous video, but I'll mention it here again. When it comes to your advanced driver, which is really and truly just your average league racer, and an F1 Esports driver, the main differences that you will be seeing in techniques like throttle control, track usage, braking, wheel inputs and stuff like that is that the F1 Esports driver has practiced so much that they're able to consistently drive on the limit at all times, whereas your average league racer probably is going to make a few mistakes here and there compared to the F1 Esports driver. Obviously an F1 Esports driver will make mistakes sometimes, just not as frequently, and they're able to drive even more on the limit than your average league racer would. So for today's F1 Esports driver, we're going to be taking a look at Josh Adobu, who, if you don't know, he's one of those guys coming into F1 Esports who's almost a shoo-in to be in the F1 2021 Esports series. So taking a look at his Austria footage from the Pro exhibition, you can see going up to turn 3, this corner is a hairpin, so you need to have a very heavy braking zone, and also it's uphill as well, so you're going to be braking even later than usual. And because of this, you can see that as at first he's on the brakes 100% for quite a while, and then as he goes in towards the corner, you can see he trails quite nicely. And this corner is actually quite underrated because you can easily lose the rear of the car here, especially when you are trail braking. You have to remember that the nose of the car is pointed, so you're getting a lot of downforce, a lot of turning from the front of the car, so you really need to keep the car stable so that you don't lose the rear of the car and lose a lot of time going down into turn 4. And speaking of turn 4, we're taking a look at it right now, and as you can see, he's not going to be on the brakes 100% for as long, and that's because turn 4 is a downhill braking zone, and the way that it works when you're not using ABS, if you brake and turn at the same time, that's too much for the tires to handle, and you will lock up, and that's what will cause you to lose a lot of time, and in wet conditions completely shoot off the track entirely. So yeah, when it comes to braking, that is the difference between a beginner and an F1 Esports driver. When it comes to braking, you don't want to be on the brakes fully 100% and then lift off to 0. That's not the way to brake. You're going to lose a lot of time if you do that. So if you practice trail braking, keep practicing at it, and you get to that advanced level, you start getting quicker and quicker, and you will make a lot of time under braking once you actually learn how to properly trail brake. The difference between the advanced drivers and the F1 Esports drivers is simply just the F1 Esports drivers have perfected that technique, whereas the advanced level drivers might make a few mistakes here and there. They might come off of the brakes just a little bit too quickly compared to the F1 Esports drivers, guys, and also they're just able to brake a lot later compared to your average person, just simply again because they've perfected that technique. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to smash the like button and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel and you want to see more videos like this once the new game drops in just over a month's time. And I hope to see you guys in my next video.